Welcome back to another episode of Getting Speakers Booked, a podcast by speakers for speakers, where I get to interview up-and-coming, established, amazing speakers on their journeys, what they learned, what their passions are, and how do they help other people realize their full potential. As always, if you are a speaker looking for a great community of referrals, getting on stages, and really connecting with the greatest minds when it comes to speaking, we have our free Facebook community, link in the description, our speakers supporting speakers group, where you learn all about tips and tricks, as well as our weekly Friday networkings on Friday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern. We get to come, have some great breakout sessions, and also listen to our amazing speakers and authors spotlight of the week. Today, I'm super excited to have my guest with us, Kristin Chase. Kristin, thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Well, Kristin and I met about a month or so ago at this amazing event called Good X is what the event was called, with the Greater Orlando Organizational Development Group in Orlando, and it was amazing. And let me tell you a little bit about Kristin. Kristin is an organizational development consultant, cultural strategist, and executive coach with over 24 years of experience helping organizations and leaders thrive through growth and change. Kristin partners with hospitality, entertainment, and nonprofit organizations to intentionally design, align, and activate their dream company culture and coach high potential and emerging executives to expand their impact and effectiveness. There's so much more that Kristin does, so I'm really excited to dive in and really spotlight her and learn so much from everything that she's done as she embarks on this new journey as becoming a speaker. So, Kristin, thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, trying to stay warm today too.
Oh, yeah. For anyone who's not here, well, there's right now, as we're filming it on January 27th of 2026, there's a little bit of a cold front across the United States. So I know New York has like 1,000,000 inches of snow, and here in Florida, we are shivering in 36-degree weather.
Yeah.
Well, that's great to know. It's great to know. So tell us a little bit about you and your background, because I talked a little bit about it, but I mean, it is just so fascinating, everything that you've done.
Yeah, thanks. I have had an amazing ride. Universal Destinations and Experiences for 22 years has been my most recent employer. I have now moved on to move into external consulting and starting my own practice, as you had so gratefully described to everyone some of the things I'm looking to do in the space of culture consulting, emerging executive coaching. And, it's just a different world to be in. And so grateful for the experience and time I had at Universal. Specifically, I was in organizational development, running the global team there of about 12 to 15 team members. And we oversaw all things in the space of organizational development, which is part of the larger talent and culture or human resources teams. Everything from performance and talent management to listening, surveys, feedback, succession planning, and all sorts of things in terms of coaching and development as well. So yeah, it was a great, great time. I really just grew up there. And as many of you know, if you've been to any of the parks, whether it's Universal or Disney or any other theme park out there, it's just an amazing place where you can walk out and feel the experience of the guest and the excitement. And then we really worked to bring that to our team members as well. So excited to honor all of that time. And then now coming out into my own, which is really one of the reasons that looking to get out there and speak a little bit more and share some of the great messages around why it's important to engage with your team and to really think about the culture that you intentionally want to cultivate on your team. And maybe it's time for a reset, or maybe you're building a company up and just establishing your culture initially. But it's so important to be intentional about the type of culture you want to develop and to put systems and tools and processes in place to really support that. So, yeah, that's a lot of what I've done in the past, and then looking to do some different things in the future as well. So,
Absolutely. Well, I That's so important, and it was so great to meet so many people in that field of organizational development when I was at your event a few weeks back, a month or so back, because there's so many different things that maybe a normal day-to-day person, I guess, wouldn't know when it comes to being inside of a company that way. There are so many nooks and crannies that you cover to make sure that everything is smooth sailing, right? So for us, the consumer, the experience that we have is only really a byproduct of everything that you've built over there with the culture. So can you talk a little bit more about the culture and what do you really help people with when it comes to, your speaking or your coaching? What are some of the key things that you're looking for when it comes to creating that ideal culture and then, of course, sustaining it?
Yeah, yeah. So, one of the topics that I will have some keynote offerings around, or even just opportunities to do breakout sessions or workshops or just deeper discussions with your leadership team, is really about the fact that you've probably heard of something called engagement or employee engagement. And that's an important concept that we've talked about for a long time in the industry, but it's even more relevant now, yet it's taken a little bit of a new twist and a new turn based on some recent research that I saw over the past 10 years. There's been some studies that have been tracking over time to see, okay, how has engagement really evolved? Because, for example, being proud to work somewhere,
Mm,
being willing to refer others to say, yeah, this is an amazing place to work.
mm-hmm.
And I want you to know that. And I'd love for you to come and work here with me.
Yeah.
Right. And being willing to stay and not leave is obviously another big thing, to stay and then give that extra effort and really feel that sense of connection with your company. Those have all been really, really important things. And just generally being proud and satisfied of the company itself. But
Mm-hmm.
now what we're seeing is that even more consistency in leadership, how
Yeah.
leadership shows up and engages with all the things that are happening in the world as the future of work evolves, as we figure out this thing called AI, as we come to work and just have a lot of different pressures from the outside pushing in on us. It's so important for our leaders to be that steady, um, sort of steady boat in the sea to help kind of calm the waters a little bit. And that is actually a bigger statistical driver of engagement now than ever.
Oh,
So things like, hey, I feel valued, or hey, I feel like I'm part of something. That's always been important, and it's still there, and people want to feel recognized. But it's really, well, do I see my leadership providing a consistent support for me, for the organization? Do I feel like I have a future here that's going to be, am I going to be around here in a year? Or what does that look like for me? Do I have a sense of confidence in the future and direction of where the company is going? So that's one. And then, of course, adapting to change. We always talk about change in every conversation, in every article. Inevitably change comes up, that things are just moving at a much more rapid pace. So the ability for a company to shift, adapt, and pivot, and to be able to say, okay, this is no longer important. We need to now take on a new priority, but we can't just keep on taking new priorities on. We also have to eliminate some other priorities, right? Take some things off the list so we can continue to be focused. So I think those are all things that are really important to culture. So specifically the concept of engagement still being relevant, still being something that a leadership team can talk about and say, well, what does this look like for our company, right? And so are those the drivers for us? Maybe, but maybe there's some other things. So
mm-hmm.
really providing some guidance, a little bit of a reset opportunity to say, hey, let's do a quick step back and say, what does this look like in early 2026 with all of the headwinds, all the things that your business is trying to do over the next year? Where are you at culturally? How engaged are your team members and your employees, or staff and crew members, or whatever it is, the name that you've given your employees? Are they checked in? Or are they checked out? Right.
Right.
And so I think that's something I'm really, really passionate about. So, yeah.
Yeah. And it's amazing because that it definitely shows the amount that you care about something like this. Because engagement is something that every team leader, right? Whether that's in corporate, whether that's, your local sports team or, even your friend group or something like that, is feeling that sense of responsibility to an outcome that you all subscribe to, and feeling like it matters. So that's so cool to hear your perspective on it. And I'm sure there's so many tools that you've learned that you're ready to help equip other people with, when it comes to cultivating that type of culture for them as well.
Yeah, exactly. And, there's ways that you can quickly and easily measure the concept of engagement.
Yeah.
For example, through a survey, through a focus group, through a simple conversation
Yeah.
with a checklist with each of your team members, checking in with them. This is a great time to do it. It's the beginning of the year. We're kicking off. We're setting expectations for the year. We're talking about goals. And oh, by the way, how are you doing? And is this work that you want to be doing? And
Yeah.
if it's not, let's make a change, right? So I think that there's some key critical questions that I can provide to leaders to say, hey, you need to know where you stand and where your team stands on
Yes.
all of these things related to culture and engagement. And then that's going to give you a little bit of a diagnostic to say, where do we go from here? Where are the pain points? So it could be a bigger survey or it could be a much more personalized approach depending on the size of your organization.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah. No, and there's so much power in asking those like two simple questions, right? Like, how are you doing? Is this work that you want to be doing? Because we are so used to, I think there was such a narrative for so long, you just continue working. You push through, you don't like it, you just push through. You want to be seen as a good soldier, you want to be seen as someone who's compliant, someone who's easy to follow instructions. But people don't realize like that has an impact on your, and when it has an impact on your work, it has an impact on your energy. When it has an impact on your energy, it has an impact on the workplace. And then it makes it hard for everyone. So, as a leader, just checking in and asking those two simple questions could probably change so much to even start with. And then, of course, Kristin comes in as well to make sure that you're able to sustain that and it's actually working well and everyone's benefiting from something like that. So, one question I definitely wanted to ask are your keynotes and who you work with, what rooms are they designed for? If someone's listening and they're like, that definitely sounds like a problem I have, how do they know, like, this is the right time to call Kristin or this is the right environment to call Kristin into?
Yeah, yeah. So I think for me, as I'm getting started with this, I have done a lot of work with executive teams, leadership teams, be it your all staffs, your town halls, your corporate meetings, your team meetings that you have established. Maybe you have a quarterly or you have an annual kickoff, for example, or a mid-year. Those are great opportunities. I'm also certainly interested in speaking at conferences out there or other kinds of leadership meetings. I think that the message is really designed for leaders, either at the executive level or at the management level, senior manager level, to really be the ones to actually impact that change and the people in the room being the people who've experienced this, right? And they live and breathe their culture and they speak with their employees all the time. So really want to touch those folks who have ability to impact and take action from what I can share with them. So yeah.
Of course. And I'd say, I'm sure also another aspect to it is teams who are ready to take, or I said leaders who are ready to take their teams to the next level, right? It's not that Kristin's coming in and fixing and, changing everything and tomorrow is going to be a completely new company. It's implementing the right systems to make sure that you have sustainability and you have impact in mind.
Yeah, and that's one thing as kind of a follow up to the keynote or the initial discussion and
Yeah.
presentation. There can be opportunities to say, let's go through a diagnostic where we really say, okay, we want to go deeper. We want to peel back, as you said, and go to the next level and really understand what is it that we need to work on and where is it we need to put our time and energy. Because if you focus on engagement and culture, you're going to see those dividends from
Mm-hmm.
being able to achieve your clear strategy and to focus in on the priorities that are most important because you'll have your employees' attention in the right areas and they'll be excited about it. So
Absolutely. And that's such a great point. So if anyone's watching or listening and they're like, I'm ready to take that next step, what's the best way for them to contact or learn more about you?
yeah. So I have a website at www.chasetd.com. That is probably the easiest place because I have a contact page there. You can fill out that information. You can also find my email or phone on there as well. LinkedIn, if you're on, please do connect with me on LinkedIn at Kristin Chase. So either of those two places are great. So
Perfect. So I'll make sure I have all those links in the description so people can click, copy, and paste, reach out just a little bit easier. Would definitely recommend, I mean, Kristin, you have been so amazing today, and I really appreciate you coming on, sharing so much wisdom. And it's really fascinating for me, for someone who's never been in the corporate space, to learn all of these things, because these are things that I can apply in my own life, even outside of, the talent development place, out of organizational development. I mean, it's just, there's so many great nuggets that you mentioned of checking in with your team and checking in with people that you care about, to make sure that everyone's feeling like they're contributing correctly.
yeah, for sure. And it's really important. Yeah.
Definitely. Well, thank you again for your time. I really appreciate it. And to everyone watching, I really appreciate you as well. As always, please join our free Facebook group, link in the description, and join us for Friday networking. We have so much fun every single week. We have a spotlight speaker, and then we get 30 minutes of breakout sessions. So you get to actually meet and network with other speakers, authors, entrepreneurs, who help you get on some stages. So thank you so much, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.